Welcome to Where Are They Now? We reach into the archives of Lenape, Shawnee, Cherokee, and Seneca High Schools and invite selected alumni to share memories and fill us in on their career paths after commencement. Since Lenape's first graduating class in 1961, Shawnee's in 1972, Cherokee's in 1978, and Seneca's in 2005, over 64,000 individuals have received diplomas from these four schools. Here now is your host, John Donaldson.
Welcome to another episode of Where Are They Now? Today we will be reconnecting with alumni from Shawnee's class of 1980 and 1978 who happen to be husband and wife. During the first segment, we will be speaking with Merle Atkins Brown, a member of Shawnee's class of 1980. Merrill is Vice President and Director of Lending Operations at Beneficial Bank. She currently resides in Tabernacle. Welcome to the show, Merrill.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's go back to when you were at Shawnee. You graduated in 1980, like we said. Talk about some of the activities you were involved with. Student council seemed to be one that was big for you.
Yes, I was involved in student council while I was there as a representative. I was also in the DECA fashion show several years running. That's actually, I think, where my husband first saw me. So that, I guess, was a significant time. And, I mean, those were kind of my main activities.
Okay. So your husband first saw you, he was 2 years ahead of you, so were you involved in a lot of activities together at that time?
No.
Okay.
No.
But Shawnee was probably a lot smaller back then than it is these days.
Yeah.
So classes weren't quite as big.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the teachers you had mentioned was Mr. Parker.
Oh, yeah, Pappy Parker. He was awesome. I never had him as a teacher, but he was a great mentor in high school and went on to become a lifelong friend. He was actually, he and his wife were best man and maid of honor in our wedding. There was Miss Wiest, awesome economics teacher, Miss Schenke, great creative writing teacher. A lot of the faculty there had a lasting impact on me and my life.
Yeah, obviously for
Yeah.
you to have them best, best man, maid of honor.
Right.
In your yearbook, we always go back and take a peek at the yearbooks, and you had forgotten this. You had written a secret ambition was to write.
Yeah. Not so much that I forgot that as an ambition. I just forgot that I shared it.
Okay.
Right.
So talk about that. Was writing a passion of yours?
It was, and it still is. And it's actually, although I haven't really parlayed the creative, I'm going to write the great American novel aspect of it, the skill and honing it has really helped me in my career and my ability to communicate. And so it is something that I enjoy, and it's a comfort spot for me, because if I have to write, it's something I can do and do easily.
Feel very comfortable doing.
Absolutely.
Right.
So those kids in school,
that's right.
It may not seem like it's important, but it truly does make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great advice. The other thing I found in your yearbook was life goal is you and me forever. We kind of know who the you was, or hopefully we know who the you was.
Yeah.
Is the you still the same you?
Yes, the you is still the same you. We're going to be coming up on our 32nd wedding anniversary, and we'll have been together 36 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so not many people meet the love of their life when they're 16, but...
And yeah, it actually works out for that long.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
That's amazing that you knew then.
Yeah, I guess as much as anybody knows when they're 16, but it actually worked out well.
And your husband had actually not really met you directly, but kind of saw you on TV. Tell us a little bit about that story when you were much younger.
Yeah, when I was much younger, didn't know who he was seeing. When I was in the 4th grade, I was on the Gene London Show, which was a children's show that was filmed out of Philadelphia. And he happened to watch that episode because I was on it with someone who happened to be a family friend of theirs. And so he recalled seeing that and watching Kenny Wojtowicz, who was also a graduate of 1980. So years later, we laughed about that at the age of 11, he was watching his future wife and didn't know it.
Just didn't know it.
That's right.
See, so it was meant to be from even before you guys even knew it was meant to be.
Right.
So after you graduate, you end up going to Stockton College. Talk about your experience there and how that played out.
So I attended that Stockton for 4 years. I worked a full-time job, and I went to school, to night school 4 nights a week. So I was working in the Atco area and commuting down to Pomona 4 nights a week to go to night school, and it was a pretty intense schedule for those 4 years. It was a relatively new school at the time. We had a lot of great teachers. I worked a lot. I took a lot of writing classes, a lot of literature classes. It was an enjoyable time. But then I decided to get married and have children. So.
What kind of degree were you going for?
Literature.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you want to do with that?
I considered becoming a literature teacher. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you get married and you have 2 kids. And
Right. A girl and a boy.
okay.
Yeah. Perfect little family.
And then
I was home for 7 years with them, which was a great time. Never felt bored. Really enjoyed it. And then in 1991, went back to work. And I went to work at a bank, Farmers and Mechanics Bank. Started there as a teller.
okay.
Right.
And then you've been with them up till currently. They were in 2007 acquired by Beneficial Bank.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you've been there how many years? Let's do the math here. 1991.
23, coming up on 23 years.
You're Vice President and Director of Lending Operations at Beneficial Bank. So what exactly does your job entail? What are you doing?
Currently, as in that role, I am. I manage the loans and the whole loan portfolio from the time that the person signs the loan note and it becomes an active loan until that loan pays off.
Okay.
So we manage all the loans once they're closed. We're the side of the loan that nobody ever sees.
Okay.
Everyone knows who their lender was and who sat with them when they signed their paperwork. And the loan goes off into oblivion.
Behind the scenes.
And I'm
Yeah.
oblivion.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And then somewhere in there, you ended up having a third child.
I did. In 1995, we had a third child, a second son.
So since we're on your family, let's stay on that track right now. So your son is at William & Mary, and you said he graduated in 2013 from Seneca.
Yes, number 3 in his class.
Yeah. So he's doing, obviously very proud of what he's doing.
Yes.
And your oldest is your daughter?
My oldest is my daughter. She graduated from Rider University, and she is in the special ed department at Seneca High School. And married, and the mother of my first and only grandchild, little boy, who was born in October of 2012. My older son, also graduated of Shawnee High School, is living in New York, and he is an aspiring actor.
Okay.
And he attended Muhlenberg College.
You had also noted that recently you're a breast cancer survivor.
I am. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in the fall of 2009, just a few months after my sister had passed away from cancer. And I am now in my 3rd year survivorship and feeling really well.
Was the fact that your sister had cancer and passed away from it, did it alert you to get tested more often?
Going through that with my sister certainly made me aware of things that I was not aware of, and helped me to ask the right questions and help me make decisions differently so that I could have a different outcome than she had.
Okay. A major, not work-related, but a major interest and a pastime of yours is you are the president of the Fuller Center for Housing in the New Jersey Pinelands, which you started up, you and your husband.
Correct.
Talk about
Correct.
that and what that is all about.
Well, the Fuller Center for Housing was founded by Millard and Linda Fuller, who were the founders of Habitat for Humanity. And after 30 years of growing that organization to what I think arguably is probably one of the most well-known philanthropic organizations on the planet, they left that organization and started the Fuller Center. And it's the same premise. It's just they went back to the roots of what they wanted the Habitat organization to be. And so basically we started out working in Burlington and Camden counties to give people a hand up and break the cycle of poverty, and to provide people, our mission is just to provide people and families, children, with a simple, decent place to live. And they contribute in the form of sweat equity. We do either small projects in which there is no, there's just what they can afford to repay, no interest, no principal, and we do larger projects which would involve a lien but no interest. We charge no interest on any of this. So it's the same premise as Habitat, hand up, not a handout. When Superstorm Sandy hit in 2012, it was a little bit of a game changer. and we moved our efforts temporarily out of Burlington and Camden counties, and we're focusing in Atlantic County and helping to rebuild those people that were impacted by that storm. And to date, we have completed about 47 projects, gotten 47 families in the past year back into their homes. So that's something that takes a lot of our time. We're passionate about it, and it's exhausting. But when you're doing that house dedication and you're handing those keys to that family, it kind of all makes sense.
Right. For our viewers that are watching, how can they get involved? How can they help? Can they go? Is there any way that they can become
Yes.
part of this?
Well, absolutely. We're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to be involved on our board. We're looking for people who are interested in making donations, whether that's financial or in kind, meaning materials, even gently used materials. And they can get in touch with us through the Fuller Center for Housing website. And they can just look there for our connection to the Fuller Center for Housing in the New Jersey Pines link to get directly to us.
Great.
Right.
Great. That's wonderful. Last question before we bring your husband onto the show.
Sure.
And hear his side of the story. Any advice to the students that are currently enrolled at Lenape, Shawnee, Cherokee, and Seneca in our high schools right now that you would to give to them after you've been through the system,
Sure.
been out in the world for a while now, and what
Right.
you have to say to them?
Make the most of what life has in front of you now. Don't panic over what you're going to be when you grow up, because I believe in the world we live in now, you're going to be a lot of different things. So pick a career that you love and that you're passionate about, and be pretty confident that you're probably going to have 2 or 3 other careers after that. You don't have to cram it all into what did I major in college. And by taking that pressure off of yourself, you're going to be able to enjoy the life that's in front of you and make the most of it and make good choices.
Great. Merrill, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Merle Atkins Brown, Vice President and Director of Lending Operations at Beneficial Bank. We'll be back with Merle's husband, Neil, after this break, so stay tuned. We're back with another guest on Where Are They Now? During this segment, we'll be reconnecting with Neil Brown, a 1978 graduate of Shawnee High School. Neil is a contractor who started his own business in 1988. He currently resides in Tabernacle. Welcome to the program, Neil.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Well, we just got done speaking with your wife, so you get last crack. Anything you want, any stories you want to amend or change? It's your
maybe.
turn. Okay. So, as we said, you were a 1978 graduate of Shawnee High School. Talk about some of the activities you're involved in. You mentioned DECA.
I was involved with DECA with Mr. Brown. Got involved with DECA more for the business side of the program.
Which we'll find out through the show that plays a major role in your life.
Yeah.
Your mother passed away before you were at Shawnee, or when you were-
She passed away the fall that I was in 8th grade.
Okay, so you moved from Pensauken, where you were a class of 12 students, to Shawnee, where you have 500 plus students. Your mom passes away during this time. Tough transitional time for you on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
And then a certain teacher steps in and kind of helps you through it all.
Absolutely. That teacher was Ron Parker. Ron turned out to be a tremendous friend. Actually, used to sit there and try and figure out what classes and how I could arrange my schedule to get him the next year. And I did pretty good. I think I had him for 3 classes.
Right.
He ended up being the best man for me in our wedding.
And his wife was maid
His
of honor,
wife was
right?
maid of honor. Our kids were born within a year or 2 of each other, so we kind of paralleled things.
So lasting connection made with both of
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely.
That's a great story. One of the things we were talking about was how crowded Shawnee was. You go to a class of 500 there. So talk about some of the issues with the school being overcrowded and how that impacted your schedule.
Actually, my senior year, I loved it because we had what was called PM out. So as long as you had the credits, you could arrange your schedule and you could get out of school 11:30.
Right.
And it was wonderful for a lot of the seniors because we could get a job, earn money, pay for gas, insurance, all those wonderful things.
Right. Which they have options for now, but talking to you before the show,
Yeah,
it seems like they were.
This was more a forced option.
Yeah.
The district
More out of
really wanted to
necessity.
try and get the kids out of the school because it was crowded. It was
Yeah.
very crowded.
Yeah.
I mean, you were sharing lockers and it was tight.
It was tight. So after you graduate from Shawnee, you end up at Stockton College for 6 years, going to night school there. So what were you going to school at Stockton for?
I was going for a marketing degree.
Okay. You end up not getting the degree, if I'm correct?
I put in 6 years at night, worked during the day. During that time, we got married and started having kids, so that kind of pushed the night school to the side.
Right. So a lot going on in your life. During that time, you're working for your dad's company?
Yeah, he ran a corporation, and I worked for several of the companies within the corporation. Basically, I helped develop manufacturing processes as related to the steel industry and commercial construction.
1988, you start your own business. Talk about what you were doing in that business.
Decided it was time to step out on my own, leave the corporate life. Yeah, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But no, it worked out well. Started a residential construction business, also doing light commercial. And we've been busy every day since then, so
Yeah,
I can't
you said
complain.
Really busy since Sandy had hit. You've been
Really busy.
really busy.
Yeah,
So
that's more with the nonprofit. The regular business got pushed to the side, and the nonprofits taken
come to
over.
the forefront more so. Okay. Few interesting facts about yourself. From 1990 to 1992, you were mayor of Chemung.
I was the mayor of Shawnee Township, yes.
And how old were you when you were mayor? Do the math.
29.
29. So they called you the boy
They
mayor?
called me the boy mayor,
Boy
yeah.
mayor.
Yeah, it was a great title.
Talk about that experience, 2 years being mayor.
It was interesting. The meetings would seem to go on till 1 o'clock at night, and it was something everyone should experience.
So if that wasn't enough, then you decided, well, I'm going to be you'd be on the planning board director, the chairman, I believe?
I've been on the planning boards
Right.
in Chemung Township and also Tabernacle Township for 18 years or so. I gave that up when we started the nonprofit.
So talk more about the nonprofit. Obviously, this is something major in both Merrill's life and your life.
Basically, the nonprofit that we're involved in is the First Covenant Partner, which is what our affiliates are called, in New Jersey. It was founded by the Fullers who founded Habitat. They left in 2005 and formed this new organization, taking it back to the grassroots that they started with Habitat. It's a fantastic organization. It's just grown. We're in 32 states right now and 28 countries. We've worked in Burlington County, Camden County, and then when the hurricane hit, we took our focus from the low-income housing and went down to Atlantic County and basically been doing disaster recovery work since then, since the week after the hurricane.
And when you were starting this up, Merrill had come diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, she somehow the two seemed to collide. We were dealing with her with breast cancer, and we had just taken on our first full project, which was for a family, and the son had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. We were building an addition on the house to put in a handicap accessible bathroom because had a small 70s house, and the mother, who weighed probably about 110 pounds, was trying to lift her 15-year-old son into the tub and out of the tub. So it was a life-changing experience for them. But during that, she came down with breast cancer, and it was exactly the same type of breast cancer that Merle had. So Merle was able to relate with her through her process. So, you know, it's an area where we go in and we work with the families to build a project, but it touches in other areas, because this woman got information from Merle that she would have never gotten on her own.
Right.
So it just
funny
it just
how
worked
things
out.
work out sometimes. Anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't already touched on?
I think I'm probably the only Shawnee graduate that's ever restored a tank, but that's about it.
Yeah, and we talked about this before the show. We actually featured your father on a show that we did years ago called Bridging the Generations, and you mentioned you restored a World War II tank,
Yes.
and then, as it turns out, your father had quite a collection of vehicles from
he was
World
one of
War
those
II.
guys that wanted a Jeep after the war, and it turned out to be about 45 vehicles.
So what were some of the vehicles that he had?
Well, we actually had two tanks. We had the Stewart tank, which is a light tank. It's only 37,000 pounds. We had a medium tank, which was self-propelled gun, which had a 105 millimeter howitzer on it. We had a German Kettenkrad, which is a tracked motorcycle. We had a Schwimmwagen, which is the amphibious German Jeep, Kubelwagen, several American Jeeps, a half-track. We had Charles Lindbergh's pickup truck that he delivered ransom in, and probably another 20 cars.
How does one acquire these vehicles, and then how does one go about restoring them? Like, where do you find parts? I mean, how does this all work?
If you can't find them, you make them.
Okay.
Fortunately, a lot of the parts are still available. The restoration business is really picking up more, so things are available. The military items, the government made so many spare parts during the war, it's just a matter of finding them, and they're all still over in Europe, so you're able to get the parts. It wasn't that hard to restore the tank. It was just tough because everything's heavy.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, your father passed away in 2002,
Yes.
and you kind of broke up the collection.
We kind of broke up the collection, worked out well for our kids because, let's see, you know, the half-track paid for part of Muhlenberg, and some of the cars paid for Ryder, and the tank kind of helped pay for William and Mary. So yeah, the kids have benefited.
Great. And you're obviously very proud of your kids. We talked to Merrill
Absolutely.
about them, got in detail, but you're just as proud as Merrill is of the kids. They're doing fantastic.
Yep.
One last question for you. You know, I asked Merrill the same thing. What advice would you give to our students, you know, in the Lenape District right now?
Expect the unexpected, because you can't predict where you're going to go. I never thought I'd be sitting in this seat doing this kind of work today, 30 years ago. So you just expect the unexpected and go with the flow. That's the best advice.
Neil, thanks for being on the show today. Appreciate
you.
it. We've been speaking with Neil Brown, a 1978 graduate of Shawnee High School. Neil is a contractor who currently resides in Tabernacle. Thank you for watching, and be sure to join us again next time for more alumni interviews on Where Are They Now?